Hello everyone, welcome to episode 6 of 360 Anything Goes, back again, and I'm sure this week will probably be a better episode. I know last week, like I said, I wasn't quite prepared enough prepared for what I wanted to talk about. So I just talked about any old thing. But this week, on episode 6 of Anything Goes, I do have a better feeling about it. Because this week, gonna be talking about the Three Stooges. Even have Curly here.
Certainly.
And gonna be talking about one of my favorite Three Stooges shorts. I am a big Stooges fan, and it's not just Curly who we got here. Also got Mo. Or I thought we did.
What's the matter with you, Puddinhead? You've been acting slug-nutty all day.
Oh, there he is.
You nitwit, what are you trying to do?
And that's probably what he was saying to me a minute ago when I couldn't get the clip to play. But gonna be talking about the Three Stooges on this episode.
Oh, ignorant, eh?
Yeah, probably, Mo. Gonna be talking about one of my favorite shorts, and not gonna waste any more time. Gonna get right into it right now.
Cut out the clowning. We got work to do.
Okay, Larry. Gonna get right into it, and
It's all your fault, Puddinhead. We hadn't listened to you.
oh, Larry's a little upset there. And let's get right into this short. And I just want to say first, this probably will not be the last time I'll be talking about the Three Stooges on Anything Goes. Haven't decided any more of the shorts just yet, but I'm sure I will be talking about others in the future. But today, finally, gonna get into one of my favorite shorts from the Three Stooges. And I hope I can pronounce the name of it right. Idiots Deluxe, is it? I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong, but like I said, this is one of my favorite ones. This actually came out in 1945, long before I was born, and I'm old, so that was quite a while ago. This one features Mo Howard, Curly Howard, and Larry Fine. Also, in this episode, co-stars Vernon Dent. He plays the judge in this one. If you're a regular Stooges fan like I am, I'm sure you know him. He has been in a lot of shorts of the Stooges, and he's a really good actor. He's in a lot of the ones that I like quite a bit. And he's also in quite a few of the ones with Shemp in them. And I do eventually want to talk about some of the Stooges shorts featuring Shemp Howard and maybe even Joe Besser too. Actually, this episode, or this short, they actually did a remake of it with Joe Besser. I want to say that one was called Guns A Poppin' or something like that. I could be wrong about the title, but it's okay, but it's definitely not as good as the original version with Curly Howard. Like I said, this one was definitely my favorite short of theirs. Was directed by Jules White, written by Elwood Ullman, and now let's get into the short. And starts off with, in court actually, Moe's nerves are shot, and Moe is on the witness stand, and him, Larry, and Curly are all arguing, and the judge is trying to bang his gavel, trying to get him to be quiet. And the judge, played by Vernon Dent, yells, order in the court, and then the bailiff kind of tries to get involved, push Curly and Larry out of the way. He yells them to break it up and go on over where you belong. Moe yells that actually, and then Curly and Larry go back to sit down, and then Moe repeats it, yeah, go back, go on where you belong. And then then the bailiff yells at Moe to sit down. And the judge tells Curly and Larry to not interfere. He says, Mr. Moe, you're accused of assaulting your two roommates with intent to commit mayhem. And then at this time, Curly stands up, or Larry stands up first, I should say. Or no, I was right the first time. Curly says, you mean murder. And Larry says, yeah, he tried to kill us too. Then Moe starts banging the gavel, and he yells, quiet. And then the judge reads off the paper, says this complains that you attacked the plaintiffs with this. He holds up an axe at this time. He says, do you admit this is your property? Do you not? And Moe says, well, Your Honor, do you mind if I look at it? He picks it up, and then he says, you see, I had my name carved somewhere on the bottom, and then he hits the bailiff because he puts it over his shoulder. And then the judge says, oh, a born killer, eh? Sit down. And then Moe sits down again. He says, but Your Honor, if you let me tell my side of the story. The judge asks him, he says, you mean you have something to say in extenuation? Moe says, oh, no, not that, Your Honor. You see, I had a good reason. The judge asks him, were you ever indicted? Moe says, not since I was a baby, Your Honor. And then Moe says, I'm a sick man, a very sick man, and I had 2 very serious operations. And he goes to show him a scar. He says, and this one here from crushed grape seeds right here. The judge says, oh, I have one exactly like that. And the judge goes to show him, He says, look, see here. Mo says that's a bum job, like him stitching with a picket edge. And then the judge asks Mo to sit down and continue with the testimony. Mo says, as I said before, Your Honor, I'm a very sick man, and my doctor prescribed me peace and quiet. He impressed me that it must be quiet. And then we have kind of a flashback here. And we go to, I think, one of the funniest parts of the short. We see Curly and Larry playing the drums and Curly playing the trombone. On the drums it says the original two-man quartet. This, like I said, once again, this scene, very funny. I always laugh when I hear this part, or watch this part, I should say. And it shows Mo in the living room, upset by the noise. And he yells him, quiet, quiet, trying to get him to shut up. And Mo throws his ice pack at a cat that we see. And he pours some tonic. And back to the band part. I think I went out of order a little bit there.
What's the matter with you, Puddinhead? You've been acting slug-nutty all day.
I know, I went out of order, but now with Curly and Larry playing the music with their band, Mo yells at them, quiet, quiet, you imbeciles. And
You imbeciles?
yep, just like that. And then at this time, Curly's trombone slide goes sliding off his trombone and goes around Mo's neck. Curly asks Larry if he says, did you see that slide? And Larry tells him it went in there. And then they follow it. And Mo shows him that he has it. When Curly asks him, hey, did you see that trombone slide any place? Mo says, why, yes. And then Curly says, yeah, give me it. Mo says, you got it. And then he ties it around Curly and Larry's necks. And he says, now play it, you rats. And Curly and Larry untie themselves. And Mo takes another drink from his tonic medicine bottle thing. And Larry says, you're ungrateful, just when we were going to take you on a trip too. Mo asks him, what kind of trip? Curly says, a hunting trip where you can commute with nature, live in the outdoors, breathe fresh air. And he takes a breath and then starts coughing. Larry says, make a new man out of you. Picture yourself in the great outdoors under the beautiful blue sky. Mo looks up. He just says, wonderful. Larry says, an open campfire blazing away, and off in the distance we hear the call of the wolf. Then Curly whistles. And Larry says, quiet, wolf. Hits him on the head. And then Curly says, why you? And then hits Larry with the drumstick. And then Mo sits down, tells him not to excite him. And Mo says, my pills, my medicine. And Curly pours some pills. At first he starts to take them. He says, no, me. He says, first the blue one. And Larry tells him, him. Telling him to give him the Mo. And Curly pours all the pills down Mo's mouth. And then the tonic out of the bottle. And then Mo says, the red one. And then Curly pours more liquid down Mo's mouth. And Larry tells him to swallow. And then we go to Curly and Larry. We see them pulling up to the cabin in the woods. And they're getting all the luggage off the car. And Mo comes out of the cabin. And he says, supper will be ready in a minute. And they go over to the stove. And Mo says, come and get it. And they get ready to eat. Curly says, oh boy, hot groceries. And they go in to get the food and stuff. And they go to the table. There's plates, there's bread. There's a bunch of different bottles, like of sauces and stuff like that. And Larry says to Mo, he says, get that food, as they sit down and start putting a bunch of stuff on their bread. And Larry says there ought to be plenty of shooting around here. This is game country. Curly asks him, how do you know? And then Larry says, I saw a sign, fine for hunting. And Curly says, I think you got something there. Larry says, yes, I have. And then Mo comes over to the table with a plate of scrambled eggs. And then Mo tells him not to touch them until he comes back with the potatoes. And Curly and Larry go back to pouring all the stuff on their bread. And all of a sudden we see a bear come through the window, put his head through it anyway, and then eat the scrambled eggs off the plate. Then he leaves. Curly and Larry don't even see him. And then Mo comes back and with the potatoes, and he sees that the scrambled eggs are missing. So he thinks that Curly was the one who ate them. He says, you worm, where's your manners? Why didn't you leave me some of them eggs? And then we see the bear again, and then this time he eats the potatoes. And Curly's trying to tell Mo that he didn't eat them. Mo says, shut up. And don't make things worse. The next time you do a thing like that, the next time a thing like that happens, I'll gouge your eyes out. And says, I'll tear your tonsils out. You're not supposed to eat until we are all seated and everybody has an equal chance. Curly tells him, shut up. He sticks his tongue out. And then Mo gets a salt shaker. He says, what did you say? He does it again, sticks his tongue out. Then Mo pours salt on his tongue. And Mo tells him, now behave yourself. Curly says, you can take my word, Mo. Your word's no good, Mo says. At least I'll get my rightful share of those potatoes. And then He goes back to the table, and Larry's just sitting there by himself. And then he sees that the potatoes are gone. He says, "Oh, another chiseler, eh?" He slaps Larry. "What's the matter with you?" Larry says, "Wait a minute, I didn't do nothing." And he points at the empty plate. He says, "You ate everything but the platter. Now that you're full, you guys cook my breakfast, boiled me some noodles and fry me some eggs." He pulls up Larry by the hair. Larry says, "I wasn't even here." Mo says, "Go on." And then they go over to the stove, start to cook Mo spaghetti. Mo starts shaking a little bit again. He says, "Oh, my nerves, my nerves." And Curly gets the spaghetti, or Curly tells Larry to get the spaghetti. And then Larry grabs some noodles, and Curly asks Mo, "How do you like the eggs?" Mo says, "Sunny side down, and don't turn them over." And this is a pretty funny part here. Curly, he gets a few eggs, and he puts them in the pan, and then he gets a hammer, and he starts breaking them, shells and all, and he just kind of mixes them up, even with the shells in there. I thought that was pretty funny. And we see Mo again at the table. He says, "Oh, fresh honey." And he gets a glass. He says, "Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy." And he pours some honey on the bread. And then he picks up some ketchup. And Mo says, "If there's anything I like better than honey and ketchup, it's bologna and whipped cream. And we haven't got any." He starts eating it. And he's reading the newspaper too, I believe. And we see the bear again climb through the window. And he starts licking the honey this time. And now at this time, Curly and Larry are done with Mo's spaghetti. They put it in a bowl. Curly says, "Nice spaghetti." And then he turns around and sees the bear. He gets scared, screams, and then he even tosses the bowl of spaghetti onto Mo's head. We hear Mo yell, "Hey!" And then we see Mo with the spaghetti all over his head. Kinda looks like he has long hair. And then the bear leaves again. Mo yells, "You imbecile."
You imbeciles!
And he throws the spaghetti into Curly's head. He says, "What's the matter, you?" Curly tries to explain, "Hey, Mo, there's a bear in the window." Mo says, "What do you mean? There's no bear in the window. There's no bear around here." And he sticks his head out the window, and then the bear reaches his paw over and slaps him in the head. And then he leaves. And Mo says, "There is a bear around here." And then they go to set up a bear trap. He hands it to Larry. He says, "You take this bear trap, you take this gun. Now go on out there. Go with you. I would go with you, but my nerves are shot." And Curly says, "I haven't got the nerve either." Mo picks up the fork, points it at Curly, and Larry tells them to go on, scat. And then they go running out of the cabin. And they're outside with the rifle. And Larry tells him, don't be afraid, I'm right behind you. Curly says, thanks. And then we see Mo in the cabin. He says, I got the chills again. He picks up a fur coat on the chair, and he covers up with that. Then we see Curly setting up the trap. He says when he comes back for lunch, we'll get him. And they try to cover it up with some twigs and leaves, camouflaging it. And then we see the bear. And then Curly says, I'd like to see the expression on that bear's face when he gets in this trap. And then he goes for some more twigs. And he notices that he's actually touching the bear. Gets scared. Backs away from him. And then Larry sees the bear. And then he jumps in the window of the cabin. Slams the windows shut. And then Curly tries to jump through the window, but he hits his head on the doors. And then he falls back into the bear trap. Then the bear walks away. And Curly's still in the trap. And then we see Mo and Larry in the cabin. Larry says, you hear that? He's got him. Mo asks him, you wanted a bear to eat him alive? Go out there and help him. And Larry says, that bear don't need no help. Mo says, what are you, a coward? And Larry says, yes. Mo says, go on out and save him. And he says, I'll go, but my heart ain't in it. And Larry goes out there again and gets him out of the trap. And then the bear goes in the cabin, and Mo sees him, and he hides behind the chair. And then the bear goes around the table, then crawls out the window again. And then we see Curly and Larry outside again as Larry pulls off the trap of Curly, pulls the trap off Curly. And he says, there, it was only the trap. What's the idea of scaring us half to death? Curly tells him the bear was here in person, I tell ya. I saw him with my eyes, I heard him with my ears, and his trap got me by the tail. Larry says, where did he go? And then Curly says, that way. Then they walk into the cabin, go inside, and Curly looks behind the chair, sees where Mo is, but he thinks it's the bear. And then they shoot at it and shoot Mo in the behind. And then, of course, that upsets Mo in a lot of pain. Mo says, hey, what are you doing here? Curly says, you look just like that bear. Mo says, give me that gun. And he hits it on the floor. Then it fires and then goes through the ceiling, shoots a duck. And Mo says, boy, a duck. And Curly holds it up. He holds his hands out, and then under the hole in the ceiling, Mo asks him, what are you doing? And Curly says, waiting for the dressing and cranberry sauce. And then we see the Three Stooges in the car driving, and Larry is in the passenger seat while Curly is driving, and Mo is laying in the back. And Curly asks Mo, he says, you sure you feel good enough to go hunting? Mo says, I feel wonderful. Go on, you boys shoot your bear. I'll wait here. Curly asks him, oh, still afraid, eh? Mo says, afraid, me afraid. He says, now it's either the bear or me. Go ahead, I'll bring up the rear in case he attacks from behind. Go ahead. And then Curly and Larry go out. And then Mo, and they pass by a sign that says no smoking, no hunting, no fishing, no nothing. Go home. And then Curly accidentally hits Mo in the face with a branch. And then Curly says, hey fellas, I got the... And then they notice the bear. Curly does his usual ruff, ruff. And then the bear kind of whines a little bit, then runs away and goes into the cave. And Curly says to Mo and Larry, you cowards, come back here. He's a coward too. And he went in, and Curly says he went in there. Then Mo says, we'll go after him. What's stopping you? Curly says, the bear. And Mo says, why you? And he goes to poke Curly in the eyes, but Curly blocks it with his rifle. And then we get... Just a second. Actually, it was more of this one. That was probably the one. And we get that. And Larry says, hey, wait a minute. They get a bunch of big rocks and they go to barricade the bear in the cave and smother him to death. Mo says, I think you got a little piece of brain now. And pats Larry on his head. And they keep doing that with the rocks. And Larry goes to hike one, hits Mo in the head with it, knocks him out. And Larry says Mo's fainted. And the excitement was too much for him. And they go to get him back in the car. And they throw him in the back. And Larry says, now rest easy. And they black up the rest of the cave. And we see the bear leave the cave, another end of it. And Larry says, hey, catch, and tosses a big rock over to Curly, knocking him down. Curly says, why you? And then throws it back at Larry. And Larry says, oh, you want to play, eh? And then throws the rock to Curly. Curly ducks. And it misses Curly, goes over and knocks the bear out. And Curly says, hey, you, this is no time to play games. And then he notices Larry knocked out the bear. And then he says, we got him, we got him. Larry says, are you sure he's dead? Curly says, certainly. If you don't believe me, put your head to his chest and listen to his heart. And Larry takes his word for it. And Curly says, certainly. My cousin from Wally, Pittsburgh, drives a taxi. That's after, though, Larry says he'll make a beautiful rug. Then he asks, do you know a taxidermist? Sorry for going out of order there a little bit. And then they put the bear in the car, and then they start driving through the woods again. Larry says, oh boy, we got a bear, a great big bear, without firing a single shot. That's what I call hunting. And then we see Mo laying in the back, and the bear starts to wake up. And then Mo sees the bear, gets scared, and then jumps out of the car. And then the bear smacks Curly in the back of the head, and he tells Larry to cut it out. He says, "Cut what out?" And Curly says, "Don't be cute." And then the bear smacks Curly again. And then the bear smacks Larry on the head. And Larry says, "What's the idea hitting me on the head?" And Curly says, "I didn't hit you." Or he says, "I hit you because you hit me." And he says, "I didn't hit you." Larry says, "Oh, yes, you did. You hit me, but I didn't hit you." Curly just tells him, "Skip it." And then this bear smacks Curly again. And then they realize that it's the bear. Well, at first they think it's Mo, but then they notice that it's a bear. They scream, and they jump out of the car, and the car drives off with the bear still in it. And Curly asks where Mo is, and asks, "I wonder what Mo says when he sees this." And Larry says, "You forget, Mo is no longer with us. The bear ate him up." And then we see Mo with the axe in his hand go after Curly and Larry. They say, Larry anyway, Curly says, Curly says, "Poor Mo." Larry says, "Oh, woe is me." And then Mo comes on and says, "Oh, woe is you," and swings the axe handle at him. And then goes to hit him. And then Mo hits Curly with the axe handle. And then Curly says, "Oh, look," and it messes up the end of it. And then we go back to court again. And Mo tells the judge again about how he'll have to go back to bed for 6 months. And the judge says, "I find the defendant not guilty." He bangs his gavel. He says, "Case dismissed." And Mo is excited. He says, "Thank you, Your Honor." The judge says, "You're entirely welcome." And at this time, Mo asks, "Do you mind if I have Exhibit A back again, Your Honor?" The judge says, "Certainly not. Help yourself." Mo grabs the axe. He says, "Thank you, Your Honor." And then he goes over to Curly and Larry. Curly says it's unfair. And Larry says, "Well, it's a good thing. We are helping you." And Mo says, "Oh, boys." And Larry says, "Yes." Mo says, "Come here, I have something for you." Larry says, "Give it to us." Curly, "Go on." And Mo takes out his axe. He says, "You got it." Swings at him and chases Curly and Larry out of the courtroom. He says, "I'll get you for this." And then the end. And that was the Three Stooges short, Idiots, Deluxe. I hope I'm saying that right, but I could be saying that wrong. I'm not sure. So hopefully everyone enjoyed this episode. Like I said, this is one of my favorite Three Stooges shorts. I think it is very funny. And you can find this episode. It is available on YouTube, the whole short. So I definitely recommend checking it out if you have never seen this one. Very good one. And like I said earlier, I do plan on talking more Three Stooges on future episodes of Anything Goes. Probably do more curly shorts, and we'll also talk about some of the shorts featuring Shemp Howard and maybe Joe Besser too. But we will have to wait and see. I also recommend following the official Three Stooges page on Instagram. Also, Curly's grandson has a YouTube channel that's pretty funny. I recommend checking that out. So that is all for episode 6 of 360 Anything Goes. Thank you everyone for tuning in. If you want to leave your feedback on this short, The Three Stooges Idiots Deluxe, you can in the comment section right here on Spreaker on YouTube or whichever podcast app you listen to on. Tell me what you thought of it. Did you think of it? Did you think it was as funny as I thought it was? Also, you can leave suggestions in the comments of something that you think I should talk about here on Anything Goes. And that's all for this week's episode. We'll be back next week, 1 week from today, next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, for episode 7. Not sure just yet what I'm going to talk about on that episode. Actually, I usually don't decide. Maybe a couple days or so before I do the episode. So, not sure what next week's episode is going to be about just yet. But really, it could be about almost anything, whatever I feel like talking about. You never know, it could be about another episode of another TV show I like, a movie, or just whatever, or anything I want to talk about. Like the name of the show says, Anything Goes. Remember, tomorrow, Friday, well, I hope to have a new episode of 360 Wrestling Fanatic available, talking about WWE Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage. But before that, tune in Friday morning for Good Morning Wrestling fans. And that's all for episode 6 of Anything Goes. Thank you very much for tuning in. And until next week, see you later, alligator.